I haven't had.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
no, I have.
We're there. Yeah, we're now
streaming
on Facebook. Fantastic. So, hi everybody. I've even had the notification this week. That's great. There's been so many problems with Facebook Lives over the last few weeks, and there's like people that I've known are going live at specific times. I'm sat there waiting for the notification for 10 minutes and it doesn't come through, and then when it does, it's like you've missed half the video. So yeah, I've been getting really frustrated. But there you go. So how are all of you lovely lots this week?
Good, thank
Oh,
you.
good.
very well, thank you.
Excellent. Pam will be joining us slightly late because she's on another call with some local business owners, talking about some social media bits and bobs. So we will be expecting her to join us any second. In the meantime, though, what's been going on this week? What excitement have we had?
I feel like
Countless.
I'm not going first.
Countless excitement. It's been non-stop.
Has it, Amanda? You're just excited because you won a pub quiz.
I am excited, and I've just my prize for winning was that I had to write the next quiz. So we're part of a group called the Lonely Marketers with a lovely Glenn Southam who sort of runs that group. So yes, any marketing people that potentially would be interested. If not, I can do a green umbrella quiz. So if anybody wants to do that and join, hours of fun.
I'm not a pub quiz kind of person.
I'm not at
I
all,
have to be
generally.
honest. I'm just a I'm the person that, you know, like when we play Trivial Pursuit at home with the family, we have the family version. So like the kids are all doing the adult questions.
Yeah.
I'm giving the kids questions, and I still need a lot of help.
If I could answer things like 90s movies or, you know, Friends or something completely banal like that, I'm probably okay.
The thing is, there's a lot of stuff I know, but it's when I'm put on the spot, and I don't like to, we all know I don't like losing. So when I'm put on the spot and asked a question, it's just like everything goes, and all I can think is, I can't lose, and I don't know the answer. Pictionary, on the other hand, brilliant at that, win every time.
Oh, what Pictionary?
Pictionary, yeah.
Oh, I
I was
to put that on the list.
Christina, that's the same as me, I think. My so I always say this, when I was growing up, my dad was obsessed with quizzes, and he's not competitive other than when it comes to quizzes. So he always used to make us play Trivial Pursuit to the point where I was just so fed up and so bored of it, because he would always win and I would always lose, that I just switched off. And the other day we had a family Zoom meeting, and he was like, right, I'm going to do a quiz. So I was like, oh, no, not again. Anyway, he sent us a pre-quiz, okay, to check that we were clever enough, this is his words, for the main quiz. And we weren't. Okay, so this was me and Nick, my boyfriend, were doing this quiz, and Nick has quite a lot of general knowledge, like he's quite clever with that sort of thing. I'm very bad at remembering random facts, so I'd be very bad at a general knowledge quiz. So both of us were rubbish, and he said, right, okay, I'm obviously going to have to tone down this quiz for the real one. So we started reading out these the children's questions, and for a second I was like really into it, and I was like, oh, I'm getting all these answers, and I was like writing them all down. And then one of them said, oh, which is taller, which has the longest neck, a giraffe or an elephant? And I went, hang on a minute, so it's a children's quiz. But to be fair, we did draw the actual quiz. We drew in the end, so it was myself and Nick, and then my dad wanted to be the quizmeister. So this is how competitive he is. He's made up an email address with quizmeister at blah 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 blah, and he has this now. So it's like a thing that we're going to do every week apparently. But Nick really hates drawing, so we drew. But there was 3 of them, 2 of us. So I thought that was quite good that we drew, but Nick wasn't happy with that at all. So now we have to do it again next week.
A lot of competitive people in the GU crew, isn't there?
I know. Well, I'm not. That's the thing. Like, I'm not competitive at all. So I was quite happy to draw. I was like, oh, everyone's won. And he was like, no, nobody's won.
What sort of attitude is that?
He was like, you don't get a medal for
Really
taking part.
No.
I was like, oh.
Okie dokie. So, like I said, this week's been it's been a bit of a weird one. I think everyone's sort of waiting for announcements at the end of this week from Bojo, and hopefully we're going to get a bit of relaxation on the lockdown rules and that sort of stuff. But I think it's really interesting talking to people about the changes that have happened in business through lockdown and what kind of changes they want to sort of keep within the business, what trends are sort of starting to come through. And it's funny, it's like TikTok keeps coming up in conversation. It's like, I know that seems like a bit of a weird link, but 6 weeks ago, all of a sudden everyone was all over Zoom and everyone wanted to talk about Zoom. We were seeing the usage of social media in terms of the sort of more traditional, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, people using that more, people using Instagram more. But then all of a sudden, we've started to see these other things sort of spring up and spring into action, and usage of things that have been around a little bit longer. And I think TikTok's one of those things. So we were having a conversation sort of during one of our team meetings about the fact we're seeing like TikTok videos everywhere on, like there's one of my friends that I follow on my private Instagram account, and it's like all of her stories are just TikTok videos. I'm seeing lots of TikTok videos on Facebook where it's kind of like parents and the kids are into TikTok, but the parents are now getting into it as well and doing like the little trending videos with their kids and that sort of stuff. So it's become a bit of a bonding thing. It's quite interesting how many people are, and I feel like people are talking about it quicker and more so from a business perspective than they did about Instagram.
Yeah, true. I think it's partly to do with, as you sort of said, Christina, the fact that everyone's at home as well. So people are trying to think of things to do and entertain themselves. And I think adults quite enjoy making TikTok videos and kids enjoy it as well. So it's kind of a thing that you can do together. Like I've seen a lot of families do the going on holiday, the airport one. So I don't know if you've seen that, but they sort of recreate sort of going to the airport with their bags. So it's like the whole family coming in with their bags. Like, I don't really get it. I think it's a bit weird, but I guess if you're bored and you want something to do, then it would be quite fun, like a role play, but film it and then share it with everyone.
I mean, when you think some of the weird stuff we've done over the years in terms of, like Facebook video and stuff like that, is probably, it's just the thing is, realistically, it isn't anything new. It's we've had these kind of challenges in the, things like the ice bucket challenge, however many years ago that was, it was something that everyone was doing on Facebook and everyone was, and so actually this time it's that kind of, here's something trending, and yes, maybe it's a 15-second dance move thing, or people like changing clothes and that sort of stuff as well. It's just that again, realistically, and it's doing what every social media platform does. It's something new and shiny and exciting, and the kids are on there. The parents are following suit. The marketers are then going, how can we use this from a business perspective? And this is exactly what we've seen happen, with Snapchat, with Instagram, with, like way back in the day, Facebook that's where the kids hang out, and then that's where the kids and the parents hang out, and then all of a sudden it's this massive monetization machine. So I really love moments like this. Can you see Amanda?
Who's
I'm definitely not talking to my husband in the background.
I'm sorry, I am talking to my husband in the background. He finds the moment.
I mean to join one week.
That was
He can update dates on his wiring.
That was the moment to be on mute, at least.
Yeah, I was, because I could hear him coming down the stairs. And even I said, going on live lunch in a minute, love, can you, not come and talk to me? You just mooch down the stairs. He wants to turn the electrics off this afternoon again. So I was like, can you just not do it for the next hour, please, while I'm online? So something else he can rewire.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, like I said, I think the TikTok thing is really, really interesting. You know, I've literally started a TikTok account last week. I put one thing up on there and sort of really thinking like business-wise, how can we leverage it? What can we do? What sort of content can we put out there? Because there are some accounts that are actually, they're already like really growing traction. And again, it's like all of these social media platforms, it's early adopters. You're on there, if you're one of the first on there, when there's little or no algorithm, actually building an audience on there is really easy in the early days. So yeah, I'm not suggesting everyone runs out and starts creating a TikTok account and all that kind of thing. You need to put some thought behind it first. But you do need to think about it and think about whether it's going to be right for you, whether it is something you should be engaging in. But yeah, no, I think it's quite interesting.
When it, just to give you a little plug, Christina, when you were doing your live call in Dubai last night, when you were talking about TikTok, you did say something which I thought was really interesting. And Spencer Lodge, who's the guy that was hosting the show, was saying about there's a psychologist that's on there whose name is, I think, is it Dr. Claire? It might be Smith. It's Dr. Claire somebody. Apparently she's got a huge audience on there already. And you were saying, you wouldn't be surprised if at some point it gets bought by maybe Facebook, maybe somebody else, because Instagram is now Instagram from Facebook, WhatsApp from Facebook. So, could it be that they will eventually take it over?
I think it's whenever there is a major player, okay, whenever we see social media platforms appear all the time and not get traction and then disappear again. It just happens all of the time. When one hits and it gathers momentum quickly and Facebook kind of sees, well, there's something going on there, generally we end up in this sort of merger acquisition kind of scenario. So that's exactly what happened with Instagram. Before that, they made a play for Snapchat, and Snapchat said no. And that was kind of, I wouldn't say the beginning of the end for Snapchat, but that's the point where it just basically stopped accelerating in terms of growth. Because Facebook as a beast was, we had stories in Snapchat, Facebook couldn't buy it. The next thing is they've bought Instagram and we've got stories in Instagram, we've got stories on Facebook. Snapchat bring out their filters, well, we've got filters in Instagram, and if you think about all those sort of filter options and that kind of stuff, the emojis, all these things that exist within Facebook environments or across the Facebook family of apps, as they call them. I think TikTok will be around I think it's got the power to be around for quite a while, but yeah, whether it is still its own entity or whether it is part of Facebook, I think there's a good chance it will go that way. We've just had a message from Richard Marshall, which is really sweet. So Richard is in the same webinar that Pam's in, actually, which is interesting. Richard Marshall is one of our clients. So he runs a business called Sleep Haven, which is a local business. And we actually invited him to join us today because, as well as being one of our fantastic clients, it's also his birthday. Just in case you don't know, we had a little mini meeting this morning, like we do on a Thursday at 9:15. And top of the agenda was we can't forget to say happy birthday, Richard. So there you go. We did make a rule we weren't going to sing over live stream. So just so you know that bit as well.
Emily will. Just pretend she's not live and then she'll sing.
Yeah. We'll send it over later.
Yeah.
I can see Matt from Recruit 12 is watching as well. So hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
I hope you're okay.
So yeah, do you know, it's funny, one of the reasons we wanted to bring Richard on is to talk about the stuff that he's been, his business basically, it is kind of on pause for the minute. But rather than just sort of putting his feet up, he's continuing to market, he's working on stuff, and he's also doing a lot of community stuff as well. And, we're based in Daventry, just outside Northampton, and he's just a couple of miles down the road in Weedon, and if you've seen his vans like flying around, he's doing food drops to food banks, he's delivering prescriptions, and he's got his boys out doing it as well, whilst they're in this situation where they can't work. And I think it's going to pay dividends for him. It wouldn't surprise me if he's already got a full book of orders, of appointments ready for, once lockdown's lifted. So, like I said, I think businesses like that on a local level, we have spoken to some businesses that have just frozen and not done anything. And I'm kind of worried for those businesses that they've just sort of stopped and said, well, we'll start again when lockdown's lifted. But I think the businesses like Sleep Haven, I think they're the ones that are going to actually do really, really well and have a lot of support going forwards. As much as we might forget the good things and the bad things that the big brands do, when it comes to local business, because it's on your doorstep, I think it does I think you remember it because it's a bit more personal, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you get treated badly or overly sold to, then yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Absolutely. So, Jane, let's pick on you.
Thanks.
So this week, this is always a bit of a nightmare week for you, isn't it? It's like first week of the month, and you have the responsibility of all the month-end tasks and that sort of stuff. And I know you've been working away, producing lots and lots of reports for our clients to do with their Facebook ads. So there's a lot of noise out there at the minute. A lot of people sort of saying advertisers are spending less money on Facebook ads and therefore the results are better. I know I've seen, like we running a lead generation ad at the moment, and I know that like the results that we're getting per lead, it seems really cheap at the minute. But are you kind of, from the results that you're seeing across all the adverts we run for clients on Facebook and Instagram, are you seeing much in the way of difference in terms of the results, like the cost per result, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, some of the campaigns I've been running are mostly product based. So, they're enticing people to a website to buy something, and the actual cost per click through is really, really low at the moment. But I guess that's because people are sitting at home and they've, these low cost items that we're advertising. So they think, oh yeah, that's great. I'll just buy one of those. It's only a few pounds or whatever. So actually, yeah, the actual cost per click and cost per landing page is really low at the moment.
Yeah.
And the reach is really high actually. So I guess because more people are on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I think as well, because there is that less competition around in terms of other sort of ads as well. A lot of people, if they haven't stopped their paid ads, they probably scale back the budget to make it a bit more, reflective of what's going on in their businesses, which allows us to get that additional reach. And I think it's really important when people are running those ads as well, they think about the price point. Because we've had clients in the past that, they're selling something at a couple of £100 and they're getting frustrated because they want to run ads on Facebook, and we're kind of advising them to go a slightly different route and try and generate leads rather than generate purchases. And they go, yeah, but no one's buying from Facebook. And we're kind of going, it's a couple £100, they won't. People will buy something on Facebook that's like £30 or less.
Definitely.
They'll do that direct purchase through the app then. But yeah, bigger value items just don't sell directly through Facebook. It's quite interesting.
The nice thing as well, though, is that the ones I've been doing, some of them start at only like £2, the items. And so then, of course, you can retarget those people back with those higher priced items because they've loved the service they had from the £2 item.
Absolutely. And that retargeting is so powerful, especially if you're able to, obviously in making that purchase, you've got the data. So therefore, we're not just retargeting them through ads. Maybe it's email. If we've had to deliver something to them through the post, we've got their address. Maybe in 6 months' time, or actually, 3 months time, let's say September, October time, we can actually put something in the post again for them that is kind of enticing them into the Christmas deals that we know are going to be coming. And it's that, you know, that initial advert actually creates so much opportunity in terms of other touch points.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Amanda, sort of picking up on that point, we've had a couple of jobs come in this week to do with sort of email campaigns that are more kind of, I call them drip campaigns. There's lots of different names out for them, but basically a series of emails that are sent over a period of time based off an initial trigger. So what's your thoughts and feelings on that type of marketing?
I mean, email marketing obviously gives a good ROI because it's an easy way to reach people. It's not particularly expensive. And you can quite easily set up on something like MailChimp, you know, those conditions where it kind of says, if they didn't open the first email, I want to send it again, but I'll just change the subject line. Or if they did open that email, I'll send them the next one. So it is relatively straightforward if you have the time and inclination. Obviously it's something we can do. Yeah, and why wouldn't you? People are quite happy to sit there scrolling through. I don't have, you know, obviously I'm being a bit of a stato at the moment and trying to churn out statistics for you to kind of back up what we're saying. But certainly at the start of lockdown, email open rates were going up. I'm not sure if they've plateaued off, so I haven't heard any recent stats on that.
It's too soon.
Yeah, it really is too soon. You know, everything's changing week by week. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's an absolute no-brainer to be reaching out to people, and if you can get the messaging right, you know, if it just looks like another spammy email, then people are going to sideline it. But if you're offering value, reassuring people you're there, even if they don't read the whole email, like you say, come, you know, Christmas, autumn time, when hopefully we're kind of back to some kind of business as usual. Yeah, it will pay dividends. Why wouldn't you do it?
Absolutely. I think the hardest part of producing those types of campaigns are always going to be the email content itself, especially when you're looking at I'm going to send like a series of onboarding emails, let's say. So, you know, someone's registered with you for your service, and then like email 1 is kind of like welcome on board, and email 2 is don't forget about this thing, and email 3 and 4, 5, 6, actually what we're going to talk about, how we're going to give value through those communications. You know, it's actually quite tricky, and I think people go between writing stuff that's just way too long to actually producing a chain of emails that have all got 2 sentences in them.
Yeah.
And then you think about call to actions and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of thought that needs to go into them. There's also a bit of a trend as well in terms of mixing up sort of kind of like highly designed emails and plain text versions as well. So yeah, I think it is quite interesting. Yeah. Most important thing is giving value though.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. If you're not, then people aren't. They're just going to see right through it, and they'll only give it a cursory glance. You know, if you're actually giving them something that's useful, and like you said, mixing it up. So sometimes it's kind of an imagery, or it's a link to a blog. Other times it's a quick video, maybe that's a kind of tip of the week or something that would be useful, depending on obviously what your product is. But yeah, plain text is great as well, because it looks like you are personally emailing that person. You know, so. Hi Mark, I've picked you out. I need to ask you this. I need to ask you a favor. You know, and if you can do it right, it doesn't show the bit underneath on the screen. Obviously, you need to put the bit that says unsubscribe. But if you format it the length right, that's kind of just underneath. So again, it just looks like you've picked out that person and dedicated an email to them, but actually you've sent it out to hundreds.
I mean, it's you know, I've sent plain text emails before where after my name I've put sent from my iPhone. For that reason.
Yeah, great. That's a great trick to do.
And it is it's the experience. Everything's about experience. Yeah, so what experience are you delivering? But yeah, I don't do it all the time, but I have done it a couple of times, and it has worked really well. So that's my naughty trick. Every time I email someone from my iPhone now, people are Actually, I have to be honest, on my iPhone, I've got my signature set up properly, so people won't realise that I'm like sending an email. Like, it always looks like, even though when it's sent from my phone, that as if I've sent it from my desktop, because it's got proper signature. So even if it is because I'm, you know, forgetting to pay for parking on my car because I'm 5 minutes late for the train, kind of thing, and I'm emailing, then it's still that experience I'm delivering is still like I've actually taken the time, and I do care. I do care anyway. I just want to make sure people feel that.
Who are you trying to kid?
Let's just put that into the box of things that Christina said without thinking. You need a bigger box for that. Cool. So Mark, again, your like website, you've been doing email templates this week, working on some PDF documents for clients. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for you this week, hasn't it?
Yeah, a bit of mix of everything really. Still heavy on the website stuff. So we've still got people that are sort of taking this opportunity to update their web presence and things like that. But yeah, it's been a bit of it's been a few sort of PDF jobs. We've got people that are getting things in place for when, you know, we do come out of lockdown and everything is a bit more, like say, back to normal or whatever that normal is. But they're getting things designed, ready to print. For that as well to use things online now. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix of everything this week, which is good.
Yeah. Do you think that what do you think is going to happen print wise? Do you think people are just completely tuned out of print and then they're going to be back on it again, or do you think this is kind of
I think it depends. I think it depends what sectors people are working in at the moment and what they're doing. I think, again, anything that's retail based, which obviously we don't have masses of retail sort of clients, but we've had one last week where, you know, a jewellery maker, so Steph from Scruffy Dog, just in case she happens to watch this, but she's sending work out still, so she needs, you know, the packaging type things, the flyers and things that go with the orders. So businesses like that are still requiring, you know, the print side of things as well.
Excellent. I do think, like, timing wise, anyone that's in retail that hasn't used this time to really pin down like their quarter three, quarter four strategy in terms of like making the most of like that sort of going into Christmas and the rest of it, and, you know, bringing things online or smartening up their packaging and all that kind of stuff, they've missed a trick.
Yeah.
Because it's been the prime opportunity to work on things like that. Speaking on working on things during lockdown, we've got our news to share. Remember to say happy birthday. Almost forgot to share the big news.
What's the big news, Christina?
So I've been recording lots and lots of videos. We've been doing lots and lots of webinars. And what we've done is we've basically created a hub, if you like, where we can store all of the webinars that we do, and because all the webinars we do today, we do them live. Okay, so you buy your ticket, you watch the live webinar, you get the replay. If you can't join at that point, then it kind of, people sort of feel a little bit like, well, I can't join, so is it really worth me doing it, etc. So what we're doing is we're actually, all of those webinars now are going to sit on a site, and people can just go in and buy them at any time. So about 6-7 weeks ago, we did a webinar on, actually, I don't think it was even that long ago, maybe about 4 weeks ago, we did a webinar on 20 ideas of things to post, 20 content ideas. So that was really popular webinar. We've had loads of people asking for it since. We've now got somewhere they can go and buy that online. So if you jump on the Green Umbrella website, there is a link, a little button that pops up in the header that will take you to that site. We're also creating on-demand training in there as well. So already available to buy on there is basically a training, like a short course that will help you to perfect your LinkedIn profile. I'm in the final stages of the second course that will go up, that will hopefully go up later today, that is how to generate leads on LinkedIn as well. And there's going to be a third element to that in terms of, you know, how to pull your content together on LinkedIn too. But, you know, just the stuff that's available there now. If you're starting in business, you've got 20 content ideas, you've got a webinar to help you sort of understand who your ideal client is. You've got a short course you can do there that will help you perfect your LinkedIn profile, ready for launching a new business. Like I said today, by the end of today, the lead generation short course will be there as well. So even if you bought all 4 of those courses, it's like less than 150 quid for that training. And it's really valuable training. People are paying like £85 an hour to do things like this with us. So I think it's going to be really cost effective as well. And we're looking at producing little sort of add-ons and things to the people that buy into those courses in terms of sort of bonus content, bringing them into some of our sort of social media groups, and perhaps running some almost like round table sessions where after you've completed like certain modules, you might get, we can invite you to some kind of group sessions just to talk about, any problems you're having off the back of those webinars as well. So there's lots of really, really exciting stuff coming into it. We will put the link to it in the comments so people can go and have a look at that as well. But it is I'm really, really excited about it. It looks fantastic. It's one of those things I started working on and then did all this work and sent it to Mark and said, oh, it looks quite good. And then he went, yeah, and now it looks amazing. So I'm just so pleased. I know I sent Amanda and Pam the link to it before anyone else. They both were like, ooh, what's going on there? Actually, I'm just thinking, shall I share my screen and then everyone can have a little
While you're clicking the buttons, you're sharing already. That was quick. But there is a massive appetite for this stuff as well. If you think how many webinars we have delivered just in the last 2 weeks. So, and we've done them for some of the recruitment bodies we're part of, for Team, for AppSco. We've done them. So yesterday I was doing one for the Association of Financial Mutuals. So lots of finance people on there. So yeah, there's a massive appetite for this stuff. So people can now get all our knowledge or your knowledge for these ones, which is, top level stuff, but it's all in one place. So it's very cool.
But the great thing about it as well is basically when you buy it, it almost like creates a profile. We're using some third-party software for this. So if you're thinking about, how can I produce training courses, that sort of stuff, this is us pivoting our business. It's stuff we do anyway on a regular basis, but actually how can we make it more affordable for our client base and still create some revenue for ourselves as well? How can, every one-to-one session we do, how can we actually be serving, 10 times those people kind of thing? So, obviously there's commercial reasons for doing it. However, if I was setting up a business and I'm thinking about my marketing strategy, these kind of starting points are really, really important. And they're the things where, that avatars and personas, understanding who your ideal client is, people will spend so much time reading content, listening to podcasts, guessing, being a bit confused by it all. Where actually we've got a webinar here that will guide them through. We've got a resource that you can use that has a little poster in it as well. Actually, what I want this to be is like a depository of everything you could possibly need to know to market your business. So, we're going to look at doing things as well. Obviously, there's some organisations we're involved with. So, locally, we've got the business community. From a recruitment perspective, we've got Team and AppSco. And what we'll do is we'll create some discount codes and things like that for those organisations, so that it's going to be even cheaper for them to access this information. And off the back of it, they can still come and get our support direct, like they could do already. But it just means there's kind of this stepping stone in between that it's more affordable. What I'm loving about it is the fact that when you first buy a course or buy a webinar replay, it creates a profile, if you like, so you can come back again to the same link. My courses is what you've already engaged in, but then you can see all the courses that are available. As we release new stuff, if someone's bought the LinkedIn course, we can email them and say, well, here's the next add on, or if we need to update, if LinkedIn changes something in terms of LinkedIn profiles, again, we can reach out and say, right, this bit's changed. I imagine in 2 years' time, I'll probably have to re-record the whole course because LinkedIn will look completely different and there'll be different bits to it then as well. And we can make sure it's another way of us keeping everyone up to date on how they should market their business, which is exactly, why we do what we do in the first place.
Very cool.
So I'm very excited about it. Everyone else is like, yeah, Christina, but I'm really, really excited about it. It's going to work so well. And if you imagine, so if I go back to like the main page, so we're using something called Teachable. Okay, so it doesn't have a lot of stuff you can do creatively. It's very formatted. And in the way that I do, I pinched images from here and pinched images from there, our own stuff, but things Mark had done for other things, and I just sort of cropped a bit so I could use that here and use that there. And I've got the right greens, but maybe I've got green on green in certain places and stuff like that. So I kind of showed Mark and said, this is what I'm going to go with, because he's really busy. I couldn't take up half a day of his time fixing this. And in about 45 minutes, all of a sudden, it was like, this just looks so much better. And it just goes to show, even when you've got something that's really heavily templated, if you've got the right imagery, if you know your brand and you stick to that brand, if we'd have put out what I'd got originally, it wouldn't have been horrendous. Mark wouldn't have been happy, but it wasn't horrendous. But having that brand in place is so important, so important. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. Let's stop share and go back.
Our resident stalker, Paul Green's back on again. He's excited, Christina, so.
Good. Awesome. Very quickly, Mark, just on the brand point, because it's come up in a conversation in a group that Amanda and I are in. So I always think about the fact that brand is so much more than a logo and a colour.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's the whole thing really, isn't it? As a visual brand, it's the whole feel of things, the type of imagery you use. The whole range really, and then obviously you're going into the expanded world of the brand where it is the communication as well, the words and things like that as well. So yeah, it's not just a logo, which is what people do get hung up on a lot as well. So that is a bit of a rookie mistake on a lot of things. I want my logo bigger. No, you don't need your logo bigger. It's that, but the logo is taking up half a page and then there's some meaningless information presented badly underneath. It's that whole feel of things.
If someone is stuck, like I said, the idea of this thing is that it's people that are on furlough, it's nice and affordable for their employers to pay for the training for them, or they might decide to pay for it themselves. But things like, there's a lot of people that are, maybe they've already been made redundant, or they're kind of thinking that's what's happening. And then they're looking at creating businesses and like looking at logos and that sort of stuff. What's the, what is the starting point? What's the one thing?
I suppose the logo is the starting point, but then that obviously expands out into all the other visual elements. So generally speaking, we would work on the logo first, but then you're going to put it into context of, another piece by piece as that expands out. So for a lot of people, it might be, okay, we get the logo, the colours and the fonts sorted first, and then we apply that with imagery to the website. Or it might be we apply that to then a business card, or we have a list of things that we're working on at that point, including social media headers, that type of thing. And obviously, it's not always possible to get everything done at once, especially when, businesses are starting out. But if you've got those sort of building blocks at the bottom ready, then you can apply them to your social media headers, etc., as you develop sort of the business and the brand. But if you haven't got that bit at the start, I think there was a thing it's quite a few years ago now. I met someone at networking, and they had used basically a logo / brand from a well-known online printing company. So you can go on there, you can have your business cards really badly printed, you can have, you know, your letterheads, your pens, whatever you want. You can get everything. And obviously I'm being a bit disparaging, some of it is okay, but the problem was she'd put literally everything, all her eggs in one basket for this logo style that was available online. And then the company pulled that logo style, or someone maybe bought it as a, I don't know whether you can sort of buy it as a sort of premium thing so no one else can have it. So she'd built everything on her business on this sort of, you know, online brand that didn't actually exist anymore. So, you know, she spent a year, started up doing that, and then had to start again. So it is important to get those things in place, even if you can't do everything all at once. Get the logo, get the colours, get the basics in place, and then move it on to the rest of it, so you're not having to go back.
As a non-designer and someone that's quite precious about their brand, I think it amazing, and it's probably one of the first design things I really learned. And that's the difference that can be, if you're trying to put a document together and you want to impress someone, just the fact that you are using the right font for your brand. And the right, you know, when you're putting a title in green, it is the right green, not just whatever green seems closest. Things like that really, really do make a difference.
Yeah, and it's that consistency. So it's trying to sort of, you know, educate people in the fact that, yeah, okay, you might be working with different people. You know, you might have a web designer, you might have a print designer, you might have a social media company, but it should be someone's responsibility to make sure all those things are consistent between those platforms. And, you know, as a business, you should have, you know, that knowledge, whether you've got an actual brand guideline document, or at least a knowledge of what, okay, our company font is this, you know, this is our main color, this is, you know, etc. Those are things that should be in place.
Absolutely. So Jane and Emily, when it comes to brand stuff, I think, yeah, Emily, you get involved in a lot of the visuals and that kind of thing. So I'm interested if you've got anything to add to that. And Jane, you do a lot of proofreading and that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, there is the branding elements that come into that too. And you know, you do these things for our clients as well as for us. So have you guys got anything to add on the branding subject?
I feel like that's a lot of pressure. I feel like Mark's the branding expert.
So what have you learned from Mark? What's been your sort of, because we've done a lot of development, I guess, really, in the last sort of 18 months with you, getting you on board, supporting Mark in terms of like producing branded images for us, that kind of thing. Is there anything that you've learned along the way that you think like people should know?
I think it's more the technicalities of things. So I'm quite a visual person, and I have the ability to look at something and think that looks great or that doesn't look very good at all. But I think the thing that I didn't quite realise is that, so, like, with all the alignments of everything and that type of thing. So in Photoshop, when we use the templates, they have sort of the guidelines that are all set up in there to make sure that everything's sort of exactly aligned and where it should be. Whereas I didn't quite realise it was that specific, if you see what I mean. So I would look at it and say, oh, that looks really great. And sometimes I would put something together thinking, oh, it looked fine as a whole. But actually, when I then showed it to Mark, he would sort of say, well, this bit could align here and this bit could align here, which is something now I'm starting to think a bit more in that way, or I'm trying to. I hope I am.
You recognise it when it's not quite right, but that's part of the process.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something, like I said, like I could tell before if it looked good and if it didn't look good, but now I look at it in a lot more detail than I would have before, and I'm really looking at whether things are aligning perfectly and
like the balance of an image.
Exactly, yeah, which is something that I didn't really think about before I started sort of doing the training with Mark.
Just like that image yesterday, that trying to work a way to get that portrait image into a landscape format, you knew it wasn't right, but you didn't know quite how to sort of get it into that position to make it look okay.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I knew, so I sent it to Mark and I was like, is this okay? Even knowing in the back of my head it wasn't very good. I was just hoping because I spent so long doing it. I was like, please just say it's fine. But anyway, it
Sorry.
wasn't fine.
It's amazing how many times we see, and especially on the coaching side of things, we see something a client's done, and it's like we've got to have the conversation with them that they've kind of put a square peg in a round hole, or whichever way around that phrase is. And yeah, it is about, you know, understanding that you don't have to fill every sort of pixel of the image with something, that a bit of white space is fine, and those kinds of things are just as important in terms of your brand as well, so things don't get too messy or look too sort of, you know, I would hope that none of our clients are using clip art on anything, but you know, it is that actually just understanding some basic rules can really elevate your brand. Jane, is there anything that you sort of think you want to add?
Yeah, just because you were saying about proofreading and things, I think just like Mark was saying, your words have to fit in your brand as well. So the tone of your blogs, the tone of the copy on your website, it has to be you. So yeah, that's something I'd noticed with blogs, is that they need to sound like the person that they're meant to be.
We've got a question, a branding question.
Is it an easy one?
I think it's one for Mark, really. So Susie Mitchell, lovely Susie, who works for the NHS, she is stuck with heavy corporate branding and a fixed template for the website. So the trouble is their service name could be misleading, but they can't think of suitable alternatives, and they're trying to raise their profile using their reputation. Also, the graphics they have are really limited too. So have you got any tips on this, where you're restricted in a big company by really set brand guidelines? I think I'm interpreting that right, Mark. It looks like you're reading it as well.
It's a difficult one, really, because that is the key to the brand, effectively, isn't it? So it's without
seeing it, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, because when you've got a larger organization that's got so many different sub brands as well, probably you've got to adhere to that for all the reasons we're saying. I suppose, to be honest, that would be one, you know, to speak to their internal guys about. They will have sort of their internal marketing function, and you know, they can have that discussion and say, well, actually, we think we need, you know, X graphics to actually represent what we're doing, whereas actually the bank of images and things that we've got don't actually represent it. So I think it's probably a sort of an internal conversation they could perhaps have.
Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? Because you can imagine that there are some people that are really enthusiastic and want to do something with the brand and you know, sort of get their message out there, because there's lots of different facets within the NHS. But equally, there will be people that just kind of don't really care about the brand guidelines and kind of want to distort the image, distort the logo, or do something with it, and before you know it, it's just diluted in all the sectors. So that's why they have it, and why they have probably such strict yes, they're quite busy with COVID at the moment.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's a brand as well, though, in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's
you know, marketers are busy too.
Sometimes in those bigger organisations as well, there is, and it depends on the target audience, but I think this is where the personal branding piece can really come in, because, you know, as an individual, I'm going to be active on my social media profiles and, you know, LinkedIn specifically, and I'm going to engage as Christina in a lot of content and share content that I'm interested in, talk about the things that I want to be perceived as being an expert in. But then the green umbrella stuff probably the stuff I share myself is not that branded. It's not branded at all. But all the green umbrella stuff I share is very much in line with the green umbrella brand. So actually, you know, we've got those limited assets there, but actually our personal brand is where we can kind of really sort of stretch that, attract the right target audience, still build that, you know, trust in what we represent, i.e. ourselves and the brand that we're standing in front of as well. So I think sometimes it is about looking at those personal branding exercises too.
And I think that's where we've got the benefit of being a smaller company. You say to me, right, we want to do this, we want it to look like that, we can still do it, and we all know what it should look like within our own brand. So we're doing things. So even if, perhaps Christina's doing something that perhaps she shouldn't quite be doing, that doesn't quite fit, it's probably, it's not going to be that, disastrous to the look of things. But also we're in a position to be able to easily fix it, which is a bit different to being in a sort of big brand situation where you've probably got to wait weeks, months for things to actually, the wheels to turn, for things to do. We know when we've dealt with big organisations in the past where we've had to, log into image banks and things, and there just isn't necessarily the stuff there that you actually need, which is crazy. It's not crazy because, there's a lot of things to consider in a bigger organisation, but we can just say, well, actually, we're just going to create this and we can do it in a couple of days or whatever.
Obviously working with corporates is like working with dinosaurs. You stamp on the tail, it takes about a week for the message to get to the head.
Nice. Good.
You've got to wait for that
so true.
Come back through again. So
I thought you were going to go because the dinosaurs because they're old fashioned, but I'm sure a lot of corporates would argue they're not, but I'm sure it is the case. But yeah, Susie's added she likes the concept of personal brand within a brand.
Cool.
Which is a good idea.
Excellent. Fab. Okay, so shall we finish off there? Has anyone got anything else to add? Anything exciting to share?
No.
We're all done.
We'll be here all day if we carry on, Christina.
That sort of happened this morning. We started our 9:15 call and it got to a certain point. I was like, right, I'm sorry, guys. Don't know about you lot. I got stuff to do. I'm going. I'm gone. Cool. All right, let's wrap it up there. So thanks to you guys for chatting. Thanks to the people and thanks Susie for the question. Again, happy birthday, Richard. And thanks to Paul for being our regular viewer. So maybe we should send him something. I don't know. Pen. He can have a pen.
Pasta. I think he's quite keen on pasta. We could send him that. If you look in the comments, you can see.
I'll check those out in a second. And like I said, we'll put the link into the comments. Watch out for us doing lots of content around what's available through this on-demand hub, training hub that we've created. So watch out for that in our weekly newsletter email. If you don't get that, then what's wrong with you? Subscribe. And our social media content over the next few weeks as well. We'll be telling you everything about what's available there. And if there's anything missing that you need, tell us and we'll produce it. Cool. Right, that's it. Bye, everyone.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.